maybe something with regards to a challenge that I would see is the current classification of the bioinformatics pipeline according to in vitro diagnostics and medical device regulation. I think there are different opinions out there with regards to whether this is the best way how to move forward with that, or whether it would not make more sense to have it rather built into the CMC part of a dossier, for example, rather than being classified according to in vitro diagnostics and medical device regulations. I think that will be, I think, another challenging discussion that needs to be had again. And the devil is also there in the detail, but we as a company commented on that with regards to the MHRA guideline, that we would rather see the bioinformatics pipeline as a kind of intrinsic feature of the product rather than a standalone in vitro diagnostic or medical device. So
interesting.
But I think, it's, it's good to have a discussion started. And
so to integrate it
the
in.
Consultation on the guideline, on the draft guideline is closed, I think, since end of March.
I think so, March 31st.
We need to have a look when the comments will be integrated and how then the new draft or final guideline will look like.
Yeah, absolutely. Tiffany, I'm seeing you nodding here in terms of how the use of bioinformatics is sort of classified. Do you have anything to add to that?
So it's going to be really, there are different ways that it could potentially be classified, and hence that's why you need to engage with regulatory authorities early. And you need to really do an assessment of how you're using your bioinformatics approach. So for example, if you're using some kind of next generation sequencing to determine patient inclusion or exclusion, that's going to be viewed in a very different light than you are going to look for neoantigens present in a patient's tumor, and that becomes part of the CMC manufacturing process. Both those approaches can definitely be used for mRNA cancer immunotherapies. So you need to think about how it's being used and talk to the agency early so there are no surprises.
Excellent. We only have time for maybe like one more question, but I kind of want to ask Tiffany an individual question, and I want to talk to Ulrike as well, ask her a specific question. So we'll see what happens. Tiffany, one of the biggest challenges I think, you and I have touched on, and you've brought it up as well, is the use of AI, ML, bioinformatics, throughout. And as a former regulator, I'd be curious to hear, what are some of the biggest challenges companies face in trying to integrate this technology into their workflows, right? Especially in the context of a personalized mRNA cancer therapy. And, what would be an important best practice or consideration they need to implement to kind of overcome that challenge. So I want to start with you there. And then Ulrike, I've got one final follow-up for you.
Yeah. So there are a couple aspects I want to highlight that I've seen personally. One is that you're submitting a very well thought out and complete argument for the use of a bioinformatics or AI approach in your manufacturing of the drug product. So that means, you need to describe the software. How have you trained your software? Why are you sure that the results that you're getting out of it are adequate? What are the limitations? And so you need to communicate all of that information. So for example, within the FDA Center for Biologics, there are experts that do advise and do review on the bioinformatics approach, and that is hand in hand with your CMC gene therapy reviewer. And so there's going to be a lot of internal discussion on that. The other thing you need to think about is, how do you ensure the quality of the materials, not just that patient tumor or the manufacturing in the manufacturing suite, but how do you ensure quality as you move those patient samples into the bioinformatics pipeline, the quality checks that you need. Is the quality of the DNA or genetic material good? What about the quality of the output from your bioinformatics approach? When do you move forward or when do you stop in that manufacturing process? So even though it's on a computer, it still very much involves a lot of that classical CMC thinking for ensuring product quality and safety.